Sad day.
Oh yeah, sad day.
I'm quitting YouTube after 2 years. Since I'm leaving, this is my uncensored message. The truth,
No.
the secret financial YouTubers hide from you.
It's one of the only guys on YouTube who actually does not have a Patreon. So he doesn't have a course, and he's literally basically sharing the information that he's learned he was an options trader before. All the other guys we're going to talk to about here, including like someone like Joseph Carlson, who has a Patreon and all that and makes money on YouTube now, probably more than he does in the stock market, honestly. We love these guys, right? They're attacking him, but really these guys are the problem for the most part, and not the Singapore chicken genius like Ken. He's not the problem. He seems to be giving out free information. Whether you take it or not is your choice.
I think people just in general are just in a bad mood because we've been in a down market for so long. I honestly think that has a lot to do with it. If we were in a big bull market, nobody cares because everyone's happy. A lot of those other YouTubers, they're pumping stocks that are now in the toilet. And then you see a guy like him who's actually not trying to get anything from YouTube. He's using it as like a vehicle to educate people. I think he's an easy target.
His Tesla position, it's now $6 million. So all of the other guys like Joseph Carlson and Everything Money guys, you guys are nowhere near his returns. And nothing we've seen from you has even come close. So when he'll talk about the returns and everything, but you can't on the guy who's actually winning. But to your point, absolutely. When people lose money, they will go after you viciously.
It does not help the investor YouTube community as a whole if there's a bunch of infighting. Like, how do I know that a video of ours is not going to show up as a suggested video on his feed? How do I know that I didn't get views from this guy because he's creating content and we're helping each other? And let's be honest, we're sharing an audience.
Every movie he's making on his YouTube channel, I see no way that he's actually benefiting monetarily from it.
Yeah.
So if he's not benefiting monetarily from it, then maybe he does have good intentions.
As an investor, you have only one goal, is to beat the index, else invest in the index. For every $1 they put in, how much return on capital did they get to date? I'm not talking about the millions they earn from selling courses and pumping into their portfolio. That's not counted. What is the return on capital they have achieved?
He's literally calling out Meet Kevin because Meet Kevin also called him out in a video. And we know Meet Kevin charges thousands of dollars for a course.
Yeah.
And if we're to be honest with ourselves as also YouTubers, Meet Kevin is making all of his money currently from being on YouTube and selling courses. Okay? Yeah. I'm not saying that it's even a negative, but that's the truth. And that's who he's calling out. And also Joseph Carlson, which we're going to talk about and show more in depth. These guys are literally making just bank off of their viewers. So their whole intention, I feel, by on the chicken is pump the content to them. That's what I think they're doing, because it's the clicking. It's they want to be clicked. They want their courses sold. They want their Patreon filled.
He must have some sort of value because no one's making a takedown video of us.
Yeah. Where's our takedown video, everybody? It's like you have your channel, it's successful. You have your Patreon. You don't have to point out the mistakes that the chicken is making, because you, sir, you make your own mistakes. All right.
Why don't you invite him on your show? You know, I'd love to see two people that are diametrically opposed sit down and talk together, even if they don't agree. I just love watching the interaction. How great would that conversation be? You get Jeremy, you get Meet Kevin in there, you get the chicken in there.
Even Joseph Carlson, get them all in a room, let them talk about their different ways of investing.
Get them in there.
How many people would watch that?
I think hit like and subscribe if you would watch that.
We should be the referees in there, right in the middle of all those four guys.
Dishing out points. Points.
Joseph Carlson, who first took the first punch at me, his returns on the surface looks pretty good. But posting real investment returns on capital to show the real results probably gets him a lot closer to the index. On the criticisms he took on me, I don't think he realized I've been paid to teach options to option teachers. Not going to go much into detail, but my trade is still on. I effectively reduced my risk by $60 per stock at the expense of $37 due to the spike in IV. Such numbers are brainless considering the break-even of Tesla stock is $711 per share. If you want to take the first punch, you need to get your facts right first.
Joseph Carlson is a value investor. If you're a value investor and then some guy is doing options trades on Tesla, you think he's a moron. He has a strong opinion on what people should invest in. And the problem I find with that is that you, sir, have no right to say anything because you've been doing this for like 2 or 3 years of investing. Literally, we followed his portfolio from the beginning. Yeah. And I'm a fan of his channel. And to the chicken's point, where's the money coming from that's going into his portfolio now? Is it all gains? Like from the portfolio?
I don't have a problem with a YouTuber that is making money with a Patreon or pulling whatever levers they can to make money. I have no problem with that.
We have no problem with that. We have a Patreon and we want you guys to join it. And we're going to show it in a second. That Joseph Carlson, he has a philosophy on value investing. Once again, he's pooping on a growth investor who does options as well. and he's calling him an idiot? That guy made $6 million from 100,000. You can't call that guy an idiot anymore.
Common thread here with this value investing hate happening is Tesla stock. Value investors do not understand Tesla stock and they hate it. And the returns just speak for themselves. So I think that all of this is in some roundabout way, this hatred for missing out on Tesla stock. And you're watching somebody that's right next to you that knows nothing about investing, putting 10 grand into Tesla, blowing away your returns with no ceiling in sight. And it's got to be frustrating.
How do all great fortunes get made? Do they get made by diversifying across 30 different stocks, or do they just go all in onto the one high conviction thing that works out?
One video that I remember watching a few months back, this was 3 months ago, December 13th, was one by Chicken Genius Singapore. This was one titled, Quit Your Job. That's the name of this video. Let me go ahead and just play a little bit of this.
Hello friends, it took me 1 minute to make $106,400. This covers my entire year's expenses.
He just said that this took him 1 minute to make $106,000, and this covers his entire year of expenses. That's the claim. This took him 1 minute, he made $106,000, and 1 year of expenses is covered, hence the title, Quit Your Job.
I'm not asking you to quit your job. No, work is good, but at least be happy working. Please note, it may look difficult, but I assure you, my donkey can do this with his eyes closed. By January 2023, if Tesla stock is $900, I will need to buy it at $1,000. I simply wrote a guarantee, so I got paid for it.
That's all he did. He wrote a guarantee for Tesla. Now, the guarantee was that Tesla would stay at a certain stock price by 2023, and by writing that guarantee of that stock price, he's compensated by $106,400 that he gets paid in upfront credit. And he goes on to explain how risk-free this strategy is.
It's quite stupid. If Tesla stock drops to $900, here's the maths, I'm still in profit. And if Tesla stock drops to $800, still in profit. $750, I'm still in profit. Let's say it drops to $600. I'll sell another year's guarantee and I'm break even. At this point, it becomes stupid to ask if this is risky. In fact, I think whatever I do, this is the safest strategy. How is it risky? Explain to me.
He says it's stupid to ask how this is risky. This was the attitude just 3 months ago, that you could basically have hundreds of thousands of dollars of risk-free money. Now, since that video 3 months back of quitting your job and having risk-free money, I've noticed a change in tone in his videos. He's selling out of Palantir at a $51,000 loss, and he's selling out of that same Tesla guarantee at a $49,698 loss. The premium that you were paid up front, that $106,000 he was paid, you also lose that. So he's out that $106,000 that was basically risk-free money on top of losing an additional $49,698.
There's truth in what he's saying. And even though he sold out of that option, the chicken showed us in the previous video, should we show that too? He bought another option for 2023, even lower now.
My trade is still on. I effectively reduced my risk by $60 per stock at the expense of $37 due to the spike in IV. Such numbers are brainless considering the break-even of Tesla stock is $711 per share. If you want to take the first punch, you need to get your facts right first.
He's an options trader. He knows what he's doing in terms of this. The one bad advice is that he might be telling people who don't know what they're doing in options. So that could be the mistake on his part, that he's talking to novices and they might try to follow him into a Tesla options trade, not knowing what they're doing. That's where the bad advice comes in. But to talk about that guy not knowing what he's doing, he made $6 million. He can risk 100,000.
Yeah, with this particular one, like I don't really see a problem with what Carlson said, and I would almost agree. And look, I was a teacher, okay? I taught editing, and I taught editing to 15-year-olds all the way up to 75-year-olds. He says I teach option teachers. So there's a level of like, I forgot what the assumed knowledge, it's what it's called. There's a certain amount of assumed knowledge that you have. There's a lot of assumed knowledge to understand what the trade that he's doing. And if it's not conveyed in the video, it is something where it could give someone the wrong idea about how easy it is to do.
And he's trying to make it clear for his audience of value investors,
right,
that what he's doing is complete gambling. And I would say Chicken himself is not totally gambling. He knows what he's doing. He made $6 million. You, sir, made 100,000. So you can't say he's gambling. His only point should have been like, you shouldn't be telling people who don't understand this that they should be doing this. You can't tell an options trader and guy who buys Tesla to make millions of dollars on it to go buy Walmart and Target and Home Depot and Costco. Like, these things don't align together. And I think Carlson is not being forthright about that. And he's also not being forthright about that he's making all the money right now on Patreon and by selling his software tool. If you look at it, he pitches it every episode. He has a software tool, just like the 8 Pillars guys. He has a software tool. You got to buy it.
Click here to download the Freelancer Finance software tool, and you'll get
That might happen.
free stocks at Webull.
Chicken went too far in his advice, not understanding his audience fully, but then Carlson's just pushing his own stuff.
I think his overall point is the way that you're structuring your thumbnails and the information that you're giving. That's what I think he's having an issue with. It's not the details of the specific trade. What he's saying is, as a narrative on your channel, there's a narrative on your channel. Everyone has every channel has a narrative, and there's an agenda, right? And what he's saying is you're leading people in one direction with one information, and then very quickly you pivot to almost the exact opposite. This proves the chicken's point. He's got $335,000, but his gain is only 35 grand. A boxer sees his hands as his primary weapons. A kickboxer sees their legs as the primary way that they attack. It's just different. You can't tell a boxer to start kicking, but it's actually a really good comparison. One of them has 300 grand in this portfolio. That's up 38%.
And he put 300 of it in.
He put 300 in. But the chicken, you have to acknowledge that given the same amount of money, he had a better return on it. But it doesn't mean that Carlson still can't criticize him.
This guy has $6 million. He can afford it. He can afford paying, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, and $50,000 loss to a guy that has $6 million is very different. And that should be stressed. That has to be stressed.
But that is not stressed. This is back to Joseph Carlson. He's telling you the problem is the trade. The problem is this is a dumb way to do it. You should look at my portfolio. We have to buy Home Depot. Two sides, you're right. And they could have just met in the middle and said, let's have a conversation. They're not talking to each other. That's the problem. So we come in and we fix it.
The thumbnail says quit your job. Then he's telling you about a trade where you get a year's salary up front and maybe not explaining what the potential pitfalls or the ways that you can lose this trade. That is what I think.
He didn't do that.
That's what
I agree with you.
bothered Carlson. And then he says, you take it a step further. If then you come back a few months later and you're like, recession's coming, I'm selling everything. The title says I sold it all.
I get it, but the title, we know, we put the title so people can click, but at the end there's information in the actual video.
But it's misleading then to have a title that says I'm selling it all.
Yes, that's a YouTuber's way to get people to click it.
No, exactly. I think that's that's what I meant by assumed knowledge. Like you look at that thumbnail and you know he doesn't really mean he sold everything, but because you know the language, the lingo of YouTube.
Right.
Carlson's point, I think what Carlson's point would be, if someone followed his advice to the T, right, then what they would have done is done that same trade and followed him because he's made $6 million. You're like, this guy made $6 million. And how did he do it? Doing options trading. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to buy this trade. And then suddenly I'm going to be down a bunch of money that I don't have because 2 months later, he tells you a recession's coming. And I have to say, I agree with that assessment of the situation.
I agree with you agreeing with him. But the problem is he goes on to talk about his Patreon, pay for that. And then he says, this is the way you invest in stocks. And then he goes on to his portfolio. That's why you should pay me for my Patreon. That's why you should come to my channel.
Carlson has as much conviction in his strategy as like you do in Enphase. This guy Carlson's, he's pushing his course. He's pushing it because he really believes he has conviction in what he's saying. And if he's following Warren Buffett, it's not necessarily the worst guy to be following.
Can't another guy who lost $100,000 in his trade when he made $6 million, and you've made $30,000. Okay,
38,000.
Whatever. You just can't compete. It's like
the growth guy saying this is a moment where I'm right. You see it. This is an example where you find a company like Tesla, you put a few grand in, you're a millionaire. That's the moonshot. The value investor saying, okay, that is the moonshot, but if you apply that to a bunch of other stocks, if you tell people as a YouTuber that everything is going to be valued like Tesla or that everything's going to be a moonshot, you're doing a disservice to your audience and they're all going to lose a bunch of money. The growth investor is saying, we identified this company and we clearly see the metrics because that's all we're looking for. And so when you look at, say, a company like Enphase, you're like, that checks the boxes. That is another home run stock. It's okay to like go into this one. The value investor is saying to be careful because if you apply that to a bunch of other stocks, you could also lose a lot of money. In other words, they're each trying to point out how the other strategy could lose a lot of money.
Both were wrong in this. Let me put it this way. I agree with your point that the chicken could have been a little bit better.
This is why sticking to a well thought out, methodically driven plan is very important in investing. And one of the key things that
You remember the 8 pillars? Do you remember? Does this sound very familiar to the 8 pillars? Listen.
Now, I'm not trying to single out chicken genius, but I think it's a good example of how quickly things can change. One moment we have something that seems like a sure plan, risk-free, and the next moment it becomes very difficult when the market takes a turn. This is why sticking to a well thought out, methodically driven plan is very important in investing. And
He's already claiming that the chicken has no methodical plan because he's a growth investor. He's dealing with options. This is a complete smackdown poop on the chicken.
I'm sorry, I don't see it that way. Just because if you put yourself in a value investor mindset, once you accept that mindset as the correct way, you're going to call out things that aren't that. They all have this like app or this software because the value investors strategy is based on crunching a bunch of data and looking backwards and crunching data to get some idea of predictable returns. That's what they want. They want to be predictable. And the more sure you want it to be, the less volatile it is and the less gains there are. But they're saying if you can just beat the market and do that, you're going to be okay. So they're just pitching that as one style. Versus Chicken, he's Bruce Lee out there.
He's trying to change his life, and the other guys are just trying to make a return. So they retire in a nice retirement community with yogurt at 4 o'clock. Okay,
no, but the difference would be Carlson would be there, but Chicken would own it.
Yeah, that is the difference.
He'd own the island that the thing is on.
So I may not be the best investor in the world, or even the best stock picker. I'm sure there's better stock pickers or investors out there than me, but one thing that I do plan on continuing to have with my investment strategy is a high amount of discipline. I am not going to let emotions and fears change my investment strategy.
I'll say this last thing, that he's knocking down Chicken at the end of this for being an emotional investor. If you bought Tesla in 2018, 2019, and you stuck through it, you are not an emotional investor because you are on a roller coaster ride.
Again, I don't really see an issue with what he said. He said at the top, like, hey, whatever your strategy is, and he's acknowledging that there's different strategy, you're not going to do well without discipline. I don't think he was digging on Chicken because what Chicken was doing, a year-long bet on a stock price being somewhere, just inherently requires discipline. He's just saying, I'm just going to stick to the plan and just try to keep growing it. And if I just keep vesting the capital, once the law of compounding takes over at a certain point, it's going to be ridiculous. He is set for some massive returns, but he won't see them till
right. He's going to see them 7 to 10 years from now, basically,
7 to 10
which
years.
is fine. He's giving you one side of the thing. And when you watch our channel, at least you get your opinion and you get my opinion. At least someone can decide. And usually we're on opposite ends ourselves. That you can decide. There's some middle there that we can both agree on.
I agree with what you're saying. There's no middle, but they're also that's what they're selling. That's what their channel is. It's a purified form of their personality. That's the reason I watch Warren. I want to see him yell at people. You know what I mean? And you know he's going to go in.
That is a reason.
I don't know. I actually don't see an issue. I look at it like this. If your best friend or your mom had her last $50,000, whose strategy would you follow?
If it's your mom, you tell her to go buy some dividend stocks and move on.
And what I'll say in defense of Chicken, though, is when you've been at that status level for a while, it's impossible for him to understand that $50,000 is a lot of money to most people.
Right.
No matter how much you try, as you move up the wealth ladder, it becomes really, really hard to, you can understand it theoretically, but it becomes really hard to actually imagine it. He is a teacher of options teachers. He doesn't remember not knowing this stuff. I ran into that even as a teacher sometimes. I would say, they would say, what's the problem? Oh, just clear the cache. What's a cache? And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot who I was talking to. Right. I have to explain what a cache is.
Jeremy, I think he's a nice guy, no hate, but he also took a first punch at me. I just like to say that benchmark his performance to the index over the last 5 years, his return on capital, and probably he'll be much better off buying the index. To the few clowns from Everything Money to Meet Kevin, Everything Money, they admitted they lost money for the past 5 years. Anyway, for both, they took the first punch at me, multiple punches. I mean, why start the fight? Does bullying others make you feel better? I dare you to show your returns on capital in public. Show your audience the returns on capital from the time you started investing. For every $1 you invest, what is your returns? And I wouldn't be surprised that both are losing money.
I keep going back to, I actually like these guys. They are funny. We're going to hear some funny stuff, guys. So listen.
Guys, this guy is called Chicken Genius Singapore. I will feel...
Wait, what?
That's the name of the show.
You're joking.
Yeah, he doesn't often say who he is, but...
Chicken Genius
Singapore.
Hi friends, I really do not know how to say this nicely, but my goal is always to tell it as it is. So most of you know that value investing involves some kind of method of calculation. The biggest problem is there is no way to calculate value. If there is no way to calculate value, how do you even evaluate if the company is cheap?
Before you say that, before you even say timeout.
Yeah, Mo just looked at me because I was like,
just keep the camera here so I can just stare at him?
What do you mean there's no way to calculate value?
The 8 pillars, right? We're going to go to the 8 pillars.
There is no way to accurately calculate value. It's crazy to even think people sell courses for thousands of dollars to teach people how to calculate value. You make investors trust your shit.
This guy's very stupid.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
This is absolutely asinine. So, if you are watching this out there right now, the best investors of all time have calculated value in so many different ways. If you think that value investing is dead, then just stop watching this video. It is I mean, has it not done well in the last 5 years? Well, absolutely. Why? Because all the best companies have been the ones that it's hardest to gauge value.
I'm wondering why he leads with this. He's talking about if Apple spends $1 million to open a
This
store.
is something that
Meanwhile, we're talking billions. Does he know the difference between 1 million and a trillion?
$50 billion.
$50 billion in revenue.
Profit. But no, in profit, not
57,
revenue.
that's right, in profit.
Even with that,
Warren Buffett's value investing book value PE ratio would have gotten you nowhere and actually underperformed the market. I see comments like, I want to put my money in the...
Yeah, and Warren Buffett has underperformed the market. Absolutely.
In
the
what
most
time
raging
frame?
bull market in history of the world. Literally, Michael Burry the other day tweeted that this is the most insane, by 2 orders of like magnitude, most overpriced market in the history. Yeah, if you told me 10 years ago that 10 years from now we'd have the most overpriced market in history by 2 magnitudes, I would have said, yeah, Warren Buffett's going to do terrible.
He's making videos actively attacking other styles contrary to his.
But he's attacking the style. That's different. These other folks are literally starting to make videos attacking him.
You're backhandedly attacking them. It's like me saying, it's like you saying, I'm like, what kind of music do you play? You like grunge. Then I make a video, why grunge is the music on the planet. You're telling me you're not going to take that personal? I'm just saying, like, it seems like he's taking it a little personal. Like, you're attacking value investors, they're going to come after you. And there's that, he actually does have a point.
He does have a point.
Value
investing is, I'm not saying value investing is dead, but to say that growth stocks like currently, like someone like Tesla or Enphase is not better than buying Costco, you're a lunatic now.
Well, but the hidden assumption there is when you say that Tesla is better than Costco, how do you define better? You're defining better by
better returns.
But
it's just the math that worked out in the last couple of years.
But that's how you define it, right? And better to you, the returns to a value investor, they're saying, yes, we see the potential for the returns, but there's equal amounts of risk involved and we could equally lose. The value investor sees protecting your capital as a much greater percentage of your goal than the growth investor. The growth investor is like, where is my money going to explode? Well, there's a 90% chance it won't, but there's 100,000% upside. You know, this is why penny stocks, this is what the coins are all about. This is exactly what that is. They're looking at the past, but they're looking at numbers. And what they're saying is they don't like how volatile the stock is. That's it. The value investor is equally trying to protect themselves from volatility as they are trying to get gains. That's the difference. So when they look at a stock like Tesla, even with the potential upside, they do not see it as a good deal because they don't define better by a majority of what the gains are. They're saying, but better, but you know, one day it could be up, one day it could be down. And they're not wrong.
The point is that if there was any time you shouldn't have said it, was when it was 40 billion, when me and you were not the smartest of investors, I'll be honest, okay? But we were buying it. We were buying it anyway.
Yeah, but we're different style investors. These guys only play for one team. That's it. These guys are purists on both sides, and you and I kind of see both sides. But that's why I say there really is no beef with them. They're just having they're having the great debate. They're having the value investing debate versus the growth stock debate.
A value investor can never wrap his head around that he missed out on 14,000% and could have been wrong about everything else in his portfolio, and that would have made that not matter. And his life totally different. Right. That's what the value investor can't get his head wrapped around.
But in order for the value investor to take advantage of that, though, they would need to do what a growth investor does.
No, but I'm saying they can't do it. It just can't happen.
They would watch it go down, and they would take a massive amount of money. They wouldn't DCA
and
buy. Go heavy in at what they think is the bottom or at a point. That's like saying, you know what this boxer's going to do? They're going to run in there and they're going to throw some leg kicks and they're going to take them down and choke them out. It's not in their arsenal. It's not in their DNA.
You should be fine with it because we're talking about process here. We're trying to teach a process, right? We're trying to teach you how to evaluate a company based on its future potential that factors in a lot of growth in there, but also based on what it's doing today. I think Tesla will be around in 10 years. The question is, are you overpaying for the company today? The answer is an emphatic yes. If you have 100 Teslas at the exact same numbers right now, you're going to lose a lot of money on 95 or 98 of them.
June 20th, 2021.
Here's June 2021. Tesla was at 600. So we wicked up. It's up 70% from then.
This is my issue, that if they were talking about FUV, I own FUV. It hasn't proven itself that it should be at some sort of level in the market yet. Right. Tesla has proven it. And these guys are still pooping all over it all this time. This is June 2021. They've missed another run of 70%. Another run.
They're okay with that. They're not denying that there isn't a potential upside. He even said, one of the guys, do it as a short-term trade. Do you understand? They are much more risk averse by nature. They're just much more risk averse, and they see protecting their capital as more important than the 10x or 100x. They're like, if I just wait, I'm going to get my 10x in 10 years, and I'm not going to have to suffer these massive losses. They're looking at literally, it's like a retirement account. Like, you don't want to see this massive volatility in your retirement account. They're just
right, and they're not willing to DCA in, which they never said in all their videos. Right, they never said that. As value investors, hold on, as value investors, they're supposed to say that, by the way. Value investor, at some point, if the stock falls low enough, you're supposed to say buy it.
Vitaly, if the PE is still 75, like, and then you go, if it goes to 60, buy. They're like, it's still 60. You have to understand, this is how they see the world.
A little over 200,000 subscribers. Absolutely love this. And sure enough, investor, or if you're 60 years old and you're finally getting on YouTube for the first time looking up investing, YouTube will send you to this guy first prior to our channel because he's got more followers and they want to generate more revenue for everybody. So,
his account name is Chicken Tenders Basket from Applebee's. Isn't that what it is?
Mo, your final 300,000 is your guess?
That's my guess.
Paul?
$1 million.
200, a little over 200,000 subscribers. Absolutely love this. And sure enough, one of the first comments I saw in a video is from our dear friend Tom Nash that this guy speaks the truth.
Oh, but Tom Nash is a value investor, though.
No, this guy's awesome, Paul. So
Tom Nash is a value investor. Didn't he say that once?
That's our take.
Or a fundamentals investor?
That's our take on this. So he's a 95% Tesla, and he's going to be a gazillionaire with all of his business.
Please, Lord Almighty, who I love so much. I didn't ask for you for hair on top of my head. I had to go pay for that.
Circumcision.
I didn't ask for that. I had to go pay for that. I am asking for one thing.
Oh, Lord.
Please, 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 please have these people go broke.
Okay. Amen. Amen to that.
Say amen.
Amen.
Now they made it super personal, and now they want Tom Nash and they want Chicken Genius to actually lose everything they have. The risk they took a risk that they could have been wiped out long ago, by the way. And they made it. They picked the one thing that blew them up, and these guys want it to all go away.
Hi, Chicken Gang. Thank you for your support all these years. I will always remember the love you've given. These 2 years was really one of the best 2 years of my life. It blows my mind every time when I'm in public that you guys will come up to me and take a photo. I hope you understand that I really need to put this YouTube part of my life behind me and always remember nobody cares more about your money than you do. That's all I have to say, left to say, guys. You guys always be in my heart. Goodbye.
The big problem is a lot of people did follow him into the trades that he did. And like he did Nano, he talked about, he did Palantir, and that's not doing so well.
What was the deal with the margin calls? I didn't really hear that part.
Well, okay, so a lot of people are tweeting him that they were in margin, and now they have margin calls because the market tanked. And back to your original point all the way in the beginning, that in a down market, right? In a bull market, everyone seems like a genius, but in a down market, it's tough. And Chicken Genius can obviously withstand at $6 million or $4 million, whatever he had. He can withstand the negatives, losing 100,000, 500,000, even $1 million. But some of these people went into margin. That's where the problem is. But I'm not blaming him for that. We all know this is YouTube. Like, why are you following random dudes on the internet into every trade they make?
It's clear that he didn't stress enough the potential dangers or the ways that those trades could lose, just how those strategies could leave you more broke, owing more money than you even had invested. I don't think Jeremy, I don't think Carlson or the Everything Money guys were particularly harsh on him.
It's not only the people on YouTube, the big dogs, but it's also his actual fans who were losing money, who were in margin. So he talked about, that's when he started tearing up.
Like hearing that thing, I feel like this was a lot more about he feels like he disappointed and maybe let some people down.
I didn't follow him into the trade. Like I saw that episode and I'm like, oh, good for you, man. You made 100 grand. I'm not going to do that.
I think what I'm finding is like a lot of the YouTube community is looking for someone to tell them what to do. Whereas I think
a lot of people are.
Well, yes. I think they're looking for information. So I think like they take what we say as a grain of salt. It's just information. This is our opinion. Mix it in with what you think. And then come to your own conclusion. But I'm finding that that's not what people want. They want you to tell them what to do. Chicken's right in that sense. No one cares about your money more than you do. I don't care what you do with your money. You know?
Yeah, so I feel he's being pushed out of the internet. That's why this episode is there. We're doing Save Chicken Genius because he should not be pushed off the internet because some people lost money, but that's their fault, okay? And because other people are attacking him for his super growth, growth mindset. Please don't attack people when you don't know their position as well.
I do not think that YouTube is a place where we should censor anybody. I think we need to have everybody's voice. That guy has information that you're not going to get anywhere else, even if it's just options, super advanced options level. I hope that I could get to the point that I can understand that, the way he does. I would say the sad part about this is that Chicken feels like he needs to leave. There's no need for you to leave. Like a direct message. There's no need for you to go anywhere. Plenty of people want to listen to you. And guess what? You're not going to please everybody. Look at it as a sign of success. People attack you. It's because you're successful. It's because they believe that they believe that you have power, you have influence, and you do. And for everybody that followed you and shouldn't have followed you, how many of those people, how many comments do you get about people saying thank you?
You shouldn't be leaving because 5%, 10% of people don't like what you're doing. That's going to be the rest of your life, I feel. And maybe he's never dealt with that, and he's not from America, right?
I think it's
possible.
that's what it is. Yeah, I think it's
yeah.
Whether they're true or untrue, you're going to have people talking, and some of it, a lot of it, you're not going to like, right? And so I think just kind of being in your own head and being at a good mental spot is just extremely key to do this. And so I think if you get in a better mental space, you're gonna start to realize it doesn't matter. You're not going to change people's perception. And if somebody makes a negative video about you, that's part of the deal, right? You're going to have people that disagree with your stance. You're going to have people that disagree with what you're doing. And if you ever want to come back at somebody from a competition standpoint, fair play. Come back at them from a competition standpoint. But outside of that, don't even care. Like it's either you're going to go 100% of the way there or none of the percent of the way there, right?
Let it roll off your back, move on. And this is going to happen. We're on the internet.
Yeah.
Okay. So people are not everyone's going to love you. Okay. Yeah. So let's listen to our buddy, Tom Nash. In fact, we're hoping that he'll be on the show. He contacted us on Twitter saying he loved our last episode, which we've included somewhere up below about the Everything Money guys.
Yeah.
So this is Tom Nash saying goodbye.
Ken from Chicken Genius is actually quitting YouTube. This sucks. I mean, I'm at home, as you can see. I wasn't even planning to make this video.
That is a Russian chandelier. I just want to point out.
I was going to say, there's like 14 meat trays.
My parents have 16 chandeliers all over the place.
Why, dude? Why do they have chandeliers? And okay, who's the biggest
Russians love chandeliers.
Hold on. Who's the biggest Russian chandelier company, and how do we invest in them?
Dude, in Brooklyn, everybody and their mother, who's Russian, has a chandelier everywhere. Like every room. If you're in the kitchen, you got a chandelier.
I have never seen more food than at a Russian wedding. It was just a fountain of meat and drinks.
Russians love to eat. We get like literal meals coming in every 10, 15 minutes. Boom.
This is really sad. Now, I watched this video. It's very hard to watch without shedding a tear. I'm not going to lie to you. I got emotional. Now, Ken is actually the real deal. He has money. He doesn't need YouTube. He's a millionaire. And he donates his ad revenue. And he doesn't have any courses or anything to sell. And the dude posts really valuable advice. Short videos, 2, 3, 4 minutes long, packed with important advice about life, about investing, about the right mindset. In fact, I don't think I ever heard Ken give a bad advice, ever. This dude turned 200 grand to 5 or 6 million in a few years from Tesla. Now, his portfolio is 95% Tesla. Is Tesla not a real stock? Is this not real money? I mean, he made a calculated investment. He had high conviction and he won. Now, there's a lot of saltiness. There's a lot of jealousy. Because what you don't know, and that's the important part, that the Three Stooges that were making fun of Ken from the Everything Money channel, they got out of Tesla before the spike. They were in Tesla. They got out before the spike because it was too expensive. And they're proud of it. Of how their system basically robbed them of millions. And now they're taking shots at Ken. I think they're salty. And I think it's really funny. It's like Ken is pretty much kind of the GOAT of the YouTube investment community. So you see him playing on the court like a LeBron. And you see these kids who played barely like high school basketball team, like at the end of the bench, criticizing LeBron for not making a layup. Ken doesn't need YouTube. That's what you guys don't understand. He has plenty of money. He lives the life. So when everybody started seeing that, they can make money by getting clicks, by going at him, more and more hate videos came out. I mean, he's a human being, guys.
I don't think Ken, first of all, besides the American culture, right, the way it behaves. The second part is Ken started his YouTube channel when basically, first he didn't matter in 2019, but then the bull market started in 2020, right? He just lived a whole good life of everybody loving him. He never experienced, back to your point in the beginning, the negative side when people are losing money. He understood something before a lot of people understood. Before the Everything Money guys, before the Joseph Carlson guys. Yeah. And no one's giving him credit for that. And now he's leaving the internet. And I just want to say, don't go, man. You were right.
You have to stay. You have to stay. I hope you rethink you rethink this idea of leaving, develop a thick skin, understand that people are going to hate you, feed off of it, and understand that it's a sign of success, not a failure. And don't take any of this stuff personally. Look, if you came on this channel and you're not making any money, it's because you want to give value to people, right? So screw what everybody says and continue giving value to people. That's what you do best. That's what we need. And that's why we want you to stay.
Okay, so like and subscribe, hit the bell, and
Like and subscribe, yeah, and join our Patreon. And we're coming out with a course soon.
We have 10 pillars.
Right, we're gonna have 10. Right, there's 10
pillar software
courses.
coming, guys.
Like, subscribe, notification bell. See you on Discord.
Boom.